Hey, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining tonight for our Woo You event. Tonight, we get to hear from Dr. Jennifer Stewart and Kayla Ashlee on building the ideal optical team. So I'll be your host tonight. I'm Dr. Ariel Sorenzi. So I'd like to introduce our speaker, Dr. Jennifer Stewart. She is the Chief Vision Officer of OD Perspectives, the co-founder and Chief Vision Officer of Performance 2020, executive board member of the International Sports Vision Association, and she is a repeat speaker on woou.com and had a fabulous presentation, and we're so excited to have her again.
Thank you for having me.
And then here are her financial disclosures. And then Kayla. Kayla is the founder of Spexy, and she stepped into the optical world about 15 years ago as an optician and has been growing independent opticals ever since that time. She invented Frame Turn, a tool for opticals to refine their frame inventory for massive profitability. She then created a video library with optical learning and optical sales training for the entire independent optical office. So we have our dream team here, guys. Here are Kayla's financial disclosures. Cool, and I'll let you guys go ahead and take it away.
I love it. Go ahead, Dr. Jen.
Everybody, I'll start. I'm so excited. This is going to be amazing. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight and joining Kayla and I. It's going to be a fantastic discussion, and it's something very timely, I think, how we can build the real ideal optical team. So tonight really is about connections, and we're going to talk about how you can forge those connections with your staff, with new employees, with potential employees in the interview. But our connection is one that we forge through social media and LinkedIn. I've been a huge Spexy fan for a very long time. I have the workbook. I meant to get it out and show it, but before I even knew Kayla, I was looking for ways to really figure out how best to teach my team and to learn even for myself about the optical industry, the things that we didn't learn in optometry school, or just to be more well-rounded. So we met on LinkedIn and have connected. We met at Vision Expo and
in person.
So exciting. So, and this discussion has come of that. So, the connection for me to Spexy and to Kayla is real and authentic. And really, I hope that you'll see that and how you can have that connection with your team. I like to have fun. Obviously, that is a picture of me a couple of weeks ago that my staff took. So, really tonight's about fun. It's about really being authentic to yourself and to really kind of looking at your office as a different way.
Yeah, I love that. And honestly, when I first met Dr. Jen, what I loved about her and hearing her speak and everything that she does is it's truly authentically her. And that just completely resonated with me because that's what we do for our teams. And that's what we do for all of our members that are a part of the product we've created is authenticity. And I really feel that, when you become a business owner in any way, your authenticity starts to come in question because you have all these people that have all these darn opinions about everything, right? And in eye care, it's so much more intense, I feel like, because, we've got patients who have opinions about insurance and patients who have opinions about our stuff being too expensive, or we don't have the right things, or we don't have all of these different things. And in our careers, we tend to kind of dwindle out our real authenticity. And so we make kind of like these little concessions over time. Well, I had that one, I guess team member that was here that one time and they did this, that, and the other. So now all of my team members have to follow all of these rules. And is that really the way that we want things to be? So what we try and do is really set up this real authentic platform for you guys to be able to grow off of and be authentically you. And so hopefully that resonates in today's talk. So let's go ahead and jump in.
So I promise that we did not have anything to do with this poll by Women in Optometry, but as we were coming up with this topic and really thinking about, does it resonate with people? This is a great sign that yes, we're all struggling a little bit with hiring. And this poll just came out. It's a June 2020 poll in Women in Optometry and Vision Monday to explain the positions that need to be filled. And, a survey was done, and about 34% or 1/3 of the people surveyed were hiring for one position in their office. 43%, or close to half, were hiring for 2 to 3 positions, and 6% of our colleagues were hiring for 4+, leaving only 9% that weren't hiring for any position in their office. But over 75% were trying to fill 1 to 3 positions. So this is relevant. I'm sure if I was live, I'd ask for a show of hands of who's looking to hire, whether that's to replace a team member that's left, that didn't come back, whether you've got this huge growth in your practice, which is awesome, and that you need to include more team members, whether that's front desk or opticians or scribes or doctors. So it's a really timely topic, and a lot of us are looking to add, but maybe unsure, about in this climate, how do we do so, and how do we get that team member up to speed in our office? So kind of why is it important? As somebody who hires people in their office, I don't think there's a more stressful time than when you're trying to add somebody. We start with the stress of trying to decide if we need to hire somebody, can I afford it? Is it, oh gosh, my team always will say yes. My staff, anyone else, do we need another team member? Absolutely. We need 5 people. So the work will always spread to meet the level of staff. But if you're a short staff, that can really put a strain on your whole team. And where I might think that we can get by with less people, and maybe I'm looking, I'm putting my doctor hat, my business person hat on, I'm looking at the metrics saying, well, I know that we just lost somebody. Can we make do? Do we really need to fill that position now? But my staff is looking and saying, absolutely, we're overworked, we're burned out, and we're really working hard. And now we're down a team member. And if somebody goes on vacation, or if somebody gets COVID, or if multiple people get COVID, we're really going to be struggling. So there's often this disconnect between what a doctor or the owner thinks and what the staff thinks. And then when we bring in that team member, what do? I put my friendly person hat on and go, let's close the office. Let's get this person up to speed. Let's bring them in, shut it down. Let's, take the time to get this person comfortable. But obviously my doctor and business person hat goes, you absolutely can't do that. We just need to get this person up to speed as quick as possible with minimal disruption. And we have to keep the exams the same, because now I have to pay this person. So often I feel conflicted about, what do I do? And it can really make it hard to get that person up to speed.
Absolutely. And everyone in the office feels overworked in that scenario, right? And burnout becomes this massive thing. And, turnover is hard on any office at any time, for management, for the doctors, for, the existing team, for new hires. And, I like to give this little analogy, like, let's just pretend that my 5 fingers here represent all of your team in your office, right? Well, if you're hiring, it's because you have outgrown and you need another new person to hire, or it's because somebody is left, right? So essentially, these 5 people are now down to 4 people because we are hiring, right? We're looking to hire someone. So the whole staff is running during this whole hiring process time, and finally you hire someone. So they're like, oh, thank heavens, now we don't have all this stress on us. And what ends up happening is we've got this newbie here, and we're like, woohoo, this is going to be great. And then what ends up happening is we have our best person, typically the most tenured person or the trainer or whoever that's normally, out working on the floor, we'll say, has to go be pulled away now to train this newbie. Right. And even if they have experience, there's still, a learning curve and training of how you do things. So what happens is you've got now all of this stress that would normally be for 5 people is on these 3 people. And so what ends up happening? We end up pulling this person back off of their training schedule onto, back onto the floor to be a more, usable person in the office. And, either one of 2 things ends up happening. And this is what I guess really saddens me about our scenarios, is that number one, this newbie either ends up getting, pushed off the boat and hope that they swim, Or it ends up putting so much stress on the rest of the team that we end up losing one of these guys because, they're just so burned out. And so that's one thing that, I see in this, vicious cycle of, why this course is so important for offices, because we keep going through these things.
And I think it hurts me too. I look at it and go, I just want everyone to get along and I want it to go well. And, and you just want this cohesive unit, but it takes time to get there. And, we get pulled in so many different directions as the doctor. I'm trying to do my exams. I might be trying to manage my staff. I'm now starting to go to conferences and take Woo U CE and doing all these things. And I come back always with a bunch of ideas. And I always joke whenever I go to a meeting, I come back with the $10,000 idea that somebody told me to do something, and I'm super excited. And again, going back to what you said, we make changes so quickly. And I might come back and say, okay, guys, we've been doing it this way for 15 years. We're going to start now doing it this way. And the staff is like, Dr. Stewart, we are barely hanging on. It's not the time to make those changes. And we get kind of pulled in different directions. And again, like you mentioned, we become this practice that's not authentic to ourselves. And we have a lot of stressed people who are not working to their full potential.
Totally. So the areas that we're going to cover today will actually be in the download that you guys have available to you as well. But the first one we're going to cover is team dynamics. And really understanding your team dynamics is a massive opportunity that is often missed in optometry because we have so many different things going on in our optometric world, right? So if you can fully understand the dynamics of your team, it's really important for any office to be very successful. And if you can understand the dynamics of your existing team before you hire, that's a good opportunity, because now you can kind of fill those holes that, your team might have. And so often today, in this day and age, we're just like, oh my gosh, you have a pulse and a brain, we'll hire you.
And you showed up. It's fine. I can work with that.
Exactly. So how do we figure out our team dynamics? And really, it's just a matter of just sitting back and really pondering what your team is like. Many of us can recite, facts about our coworkers, like if they're likable, if they're friendly, if they have habits, whether they're annoying or good. You can even tell us a little bit about their personal life, but very few of us can really just kind of off the top of our head tell us facts about a coworker, like beneficial work traits that they have, their work ethic, where they complement the rest of the team, the ways that they prefer to work. And if you're able to really think about your team and literally make a list and be like, okay, this person is my social butterfly type. I know if I leave her be, she's going to be fluttering all around the office, right? And this person is kind of like the hard worker, like they like to be left alone. I don't have to worry about if they're getting their work done. And, this person is the leader. And this person, you can come up with different types, but start to categorize your people. And this can really help you effectively plan towards, creating the most ideal team when you're adding a newbie, but it can also help you play to everyone's strengths and weaknesses, right? And having a good balance of personalities, because in all reality, if you had an office full of social butterflies, nothing's going to get done. It's going to be a rocking place to hang out, but nothing's going to get done. And if I'm the leadership type, if there are too many leaders in there, before long, it's going to be like WWE SmackDown in no time, right? That's the way it's going to be, because we're going to be like totally butting heads. Well, the reality is being able to identify places in your team and how you can optimize that and be authentic and real with, realizing what are the strengths and weaknesses of your team.
I think this even starts in the interview process. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but really getting to the meat of somebody's personality and getting past, maybe their canned answers that they might have, because it really can differentiate who the person is that you're hiring, knowing that personality, where they should sit in the office. That's something we've struggled with at my office. We have some social butterflies who need to be, they have to spread their wings separately, because again, it's a super fun place to be, but they're my front desk. And, patients do nothing but listen when they're waiting. And if they're just chit-chatting along, that could be pretty bad. So we have one who we joke, we have that sticky note on her back that says, please don't talk to me. I don't get work done when I'm interrupted. So we made it funny enough, it came up like Instagram, there was a meme about it. So it's real. It doesn't just happen in my office. But it really, differentiates even where you put people's chairs, and you have to think about that, about where your people are best suited, and what they were hired for might not be the position that they end up doing. You might have hired somebody for a technician position, but they've got this great sales, they just love sales and they love being in the optical. And they've got this personality that's super outgoing. And it's a great way to say, I know I hired you to be my technician and my scribe. How would you like the opportunity to learn about the optical and learn, you've got this great way with patients, and then you put them at ease and you have a great way of talking to them. Here's a way that you could grow in the office if you're interested, and we can really make that happen. And maybe the role that you were hired for doesn't end up being the role that we end up keeping you in. And that gives them some room for growth and some development there in the office as well.
Absolutely. The next point to building the ideal optical team is learning how to present yourself. And what I mean is you guys as an office, right? And eye care, we are not the best about boasting about ourselves. But, people need to be excited to be a part of our team. And so I'll often go into offices and I'll ask them, listen, pretend like I'm going to come and work on your team. Why should I work for you? And they'll say, well, you'll make a fair wage and you'll work 40 hours a week and you get to help people with their most precious sense every single day. Oh, golly gee, that sounds so great. I don't want to work there. However, if you guys, kind of refine a pitch, like if you get someone who's really awesome, who, you just interviewed them and you're super excited and they're like, tell me about your office, and you give that golly gee answer, I don't know that that's going to work out, right? Like someone like me, I want a place that's really awesome. Now, what if you said, we really take pride in the development of our team, and, we are really big on our environment and the culture of our office. We have ability to advance within our office and opportunities to grow. We have bonuses and really great incentives. And you can ask our team, we're really great at showing our appreciation. Now, if you told me that, like, I would be totally jazzed to be in that scenario. Oh, this girl's supposed to be dancing. Hate it. I hate it when the things don't work out right. Just imagine a little dancing gal.
She's dancing.
Yeah. But candidates, it's something for candidates to be able to get excited about, right? So that's the whole point is, learn how to pitch yourself. When you do find that really great candidate, you need to know how to sell yourself.
And I'll say my favorite thing that I hear from a patient in the exam room, y'all say, okay, here's all the findings. Here's, everything about the exam. Do you have any questions? And my favorite question is, are you hiring? It's super fun. And it's such a great reflection of your office when your patient is asking, please, are you hiring for any position? I've been coming here for years. It just looks like you have a fun time. And we spend more time at work than we do at home with our families. So to really spend that time with the same people every day and have this vibe of high energy, respect. I have a lot of patients say to me, I can tell you really respect your staff, the way that you guys talk. You just get this feel. We've all walked into offices that don't have that feel, where you walk in and you're like, oh gosh, sounds like a horrible place to work. So, and having patients feel that too. And my goal is not to have turnover in my office. And we've been really fortunate over the years that people don't really leave. They only really leave for relocation. They're moving. We've lost a few to move to New York City, which, is not commutable really for us in our office. Moved to down south. They've moved different places, but it's very rare. We just had one go to medical school. So, we hired her knowing she was going to leave, but we don't really lose people to other local jobs, which I think is a testament to the environment that we've created. And patients notice that. They love seeing the same faces year after year after year after year, knowing that it's the same person answering the phone, remembering my technician, loving that my technician remembers them and remembers their history. So it really makes such a difference on the patient side, to really see that.
I love it. I love it. Well, okay, so our next topic is interview with intent. Okay, so we figured out our team dynamics. We know how to present ourselves when we find that really awesome person. So how are we going to interview that really awesome person? So yeah, go ahead. It's you, girl.
Oh, hopefully we find them. So I think right now it's a little more challenging to find people, but it really has to do with the whole hiring process. And we've talked about the dynamics about our team, but before we can build that team, where do we find these people? And I think this is a question we're all wondering. Where are these people hiding?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and so great that this poll just came out. So referring to that same poll in the beginning, they actually had the most popular ways to find candidates for work. And the most popular by far, which is not a surprise by any means, is general job sites, right? Like ZipRecruiter and all those kind of job sites. Beyond that was the next in line was employee referral. So, an employee says, oh, I have a friend, right? And that works out. Social media posts, meaning like Facebook and LinkedIn. If they've got social media, maybe they're, hey, we're hiring, and maybe you've got patients like Dr. Jen does, where they're like, hey, we'd love to come work for you. Beyond that is LinkedIn, asking vendors or sales reps, hey, do you know of any good people who are hiring? And the last, which I found very interesting, was utilizing an iRecruiting service. And if I can be completely blunt with, the docs that are on this call right now, if we are having this issue in our industry where 91% of us are looking for people to hire, and most of us are using these other methods, maybe it's time we kind of rethink how we find candidates. Like seriously, like eye care recruiting services. I know that there are a few out there. I personally have seen iTassic services be used. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that. Dr. Jen, if you're familiar with some others, but I mean, finding a service out there that can create, I guess, an opportunity for you to have someone, first off, work through all the, can I say BS, with having people, I'm just putting in an application and they are there for an interview and then they no-show your interview. How much is that costing you? And then the people who you do finally find and you do finally hire, and then they quit over text message. Like, who are these people? Like the amount of time that's wasted on that, I would much rather hire an eye care recruiting service. So that's just my opinion on that one.
So there are also some things that I've learned along the way about your team wanting to be involved. And for years, we would just, again, put the ad on, whatever service we use, have the person come in, interview them, yes or no, and say to the team, guess what? Sally's starting tomorrow. There you go. Enjoy. She's going to be front desk. Sally, good luck. I'll see you sometime. And that's kind of how the process went. And we've had some hits and misses, and my staff really kind of came to me and said, we would like to be involved, and we really think that we should have a say. We know, the final say is not ours, but we really want to have an opinion on the person that we're going to work with. And we had somebody that we hired that, we hired on a Wednesday. By Friday, we had asked her not to come back. And one of my nice alpha team members came to me and said, I could have told you that. I could have told you day one. I could have told you when she walked in the door for the interview, it was not going to work out. And, I thought, why don't we ask them? They're the ones who are going to be working with them, and it has to be a good fit for everybody. So we've started to include our staff as part of the interview process, that the person kind of rotates through and gets to meet people and, kind of gets a feel for the person's personality, and really, are they going to be a good fit for our team? And do they fit with our culture? Obviously, you have to take their opinions with a grain of salt, but I think it makes it easier when you have that new person start, that they feel that they've had some ownership there and that they have some say in who's being hired.
Absolutely. So the interviewing process is something that I find that many of our member doctors are really struggling with. And it's hard, right? You have to basically in this very short meeting, size up a person's, morals, their dedication, their work ethic in this very superficial meeting. And it's really hard to kind of like get down below and really, try to understand this person when they've sat there and, done their pageant rehearsal in the mirror a gazillion times, and they could, do it without you even asking the question. So we came up for our members with a few little tricks in the interviewing process that have to do with basically adjusting the psychology of how you are addressing these things. So the first thing that I will say, and we all hate silence. I know we hate silence, but the power of the pause. And we use this in our interview process. I know Dr. Jen just recently had an article on this, on the importance of pausing just long enough after you ask a patient a question can make them feel that they're being heard. It's really important when you guys ask a question that you pause and let them think about it, right? Let them kind of like ponder on it and, kind of take the role of whoever speaks first loses. Like just hold it just a little bit longer. You don't have to elaborate, because what happens is we end up elaborating on the question so much that we basically serve it up to them on a little platter. And that's so not necessary. So some of the other things that we have come up with in the interviewing process is, starting out with, our typical like soft question, something like, what attracted you to apply for this position? And then we pause and we wait, right? That seems like a pretty standard question. Well, with our members, we encourage them to use this kind of like psychology method when it comes to interviewing that really gets the person that you are interviewing to open up and kind of flips this little switch in their brain. So we call them dig questions. So you start digging and you basically do it aggressively. So I would recommend that dig questions have nothing to do with eye care. You are just asking about them and about their personality. So I would ask, for example, let's say I'm interviewing Dr. Jen here, and I'm going to ask this question, and I'm going to look for 3 different scenarios, or she's going to give me one of 3 different scenarios. She's either going to give me a great answer, a mediocre answer, or a really lame one. So when we start, no matter what her answer is, we keep digging and we keep digging. It's never good enough just to go with the first answer. So let's say I'm going to ask Dr. Jen, hey, let's say you are going to have a long weekend and we close the office on a Friday. So how are you going to spend that long weekend?
Oh, I think I just spend it with my kids.
Okay. Side note, she doesn't hear this part, but in her mind, we're going, okay, mediocre answer. All right. So what do we do with a mediocre answer? We cling to a keyword and we ask her to dig a little deeper. We say, oh, okay, well, what would you do with your kids?
We live by the beach, so we spend a lot of time there. I'll probably take them to the beach. We'll go swimming. We'll go to the pool and, probably get some ice cream.
Oh, interesting. And then I would ask, like, what's your favorite beach? So what I'm doing is I'm figuring these things out. Some of the things that we're not really allowed to ask, right? But I know that she has kids, and you are allowed to ask certain questions that might dig a little deeper so you can find out a little bit more about this person. So let's do another scenario. Give me a lame answer. So we're going to close on a Friday. How are you going to spend your long weekend, Dr. Jen?
I've been traveling a lot. I think I would just stay home.
Stay home? Really? You're going to work your tail off for me all week long and make all this money, and you're just going to spending time, like staying at home? That seems silly. So with a lame answer, you can see here, we acknowledge it, and then we create a solution that forces her to go deeper. So I'll say, you know what, Dr. Jen, we've got, an Airbnb offer. Okay. Airbnb is giving you a free weekend. Where are you going to go? Okay. So she would answer that question then accordingly. The idea is you guys are getting them the psychology little thing that they're going to go, oh, they don't allow just a short answer. Okay. They're going to start elaborating. So we encourage you giving 2 dig questions. One of the other ones we like, which we won't dig into too much, but you just got $20,000 in cash. You can do anything you want with it. But by the end of the month, you have to give me back whatever is left over. What are you going to do with it? And the same thing, you're looking for a great answer, a mediocre answer, and a lame answer. Now, are we possibly going to get some, good information from them? Yeah. But the idea is to set the mindset that you are not going to accept just these little tiny short answer questions that they practice in their pageant mirror at home. that's not going to work out. So what happens is when you start doing these dig questions, the interview process is so much better because they start really being much more open about all of their stuff, and you're really setting a precedence for the rest of the interview. So I strongly encourage doing that in your interview process. So let's go over a platform to succeed.
So now we've had this wonderful interview where we're going, this person, man, they gave better answers than I expected. And, you know, and I will say I'm guilty of asking, we all ask the same question. So this was so amazing to me because I thought, how would I answer those? You know, I have to think about what would I answer those with? I mean, obviously not my lame answers because I know better. But it really is exciting to hear what people say versus, yes, your pageant answers, you know, what are your 5 best qualities, et cetera. So once they're, you know, again, going back to the toughest parts of my job, you know, once they're in the office, we've hired them, they're amazing, they give great answers. Now what? You know, we are obviously, as we mentioned, probably filling a void and we're super short staffed. So how do we best set these new team members up for success in a very unusual office? And I think so many people come into these interviews, you know, they see your front desk, hiring for a medical office front desk, and people go, awesome. Like, I'd like to sit down and just type at my computer and, you know, pick up the phone. How hard is that? And when you think about it, optometry is such a unique field. We have an office, we have a medical specialty with crazy insurances. We're not just dealing with medical, we're dealing now with vision care plans, which are a totally different beast. And which one are they using and what? And then we have a retail component. So then we have this whole other dynamic, which is, you know, our optical, and we have different team members that work there. And this is all under one umbrella. So it's such a unique, diverse, kind of stressful environment to throw a newbie in who might think, oh my gosh, I thought I was coming to work at, you know, the back room in an office where I'm just typing all day. So how do we teach them and get them excited about what they're doing and what they can do in our office, and not just be sink or swim, but be really excited about the very vast opportunities that they have in our office?
Yeah. And, you know, we've worked with hundreds and hundreds of opticals from large and small. And, you know, we got to this point where we're just like, you know what, y'all need the same help. Especially when it comes to hiring new people. And so that's when we started, you know, creating these solutions. And we'll go through these things that work out really, really well. It's a key component in having success with someone that you're hiring, you know, and I'll tell you right now, this is not some, you know, classroom theory stuff. This is proven method stuff that we know it works. So we'll start out with the training checklist. Okay, you all might have a training checklist. I challenge you to try mine. I think it's better. It is available for you in your Woo University downloads. But the training checklist has worked. We've tried it many different ways. This one works, and the reason why it works is because it gets your new hire, whether they have experience or not, it gets your new hire going down the checklist with their trainer, and being able to have basically a contribution to the office. So it's less of, you know, this person can't do anything until they're completely trained. It gets them doing things that they can contribute to easily, you know, things like scheduling and answering the phone. And I think we've got like 52 or 57 things on our checklist. But the idea is to get them completely comfortable with moving forward in their progress in your optical office. And even if we're talking front desk, your front desk needs to know enough about optical and about glasses and about things like that to be able to speak to it, because they're the front person on the phone, right? They're the forward facing person who your patient talks to first. And if they're always like, I don't know, let me get you an optician. You know, there are some optician questions, but it's much more powerful for them to answer with a type of, you know, confidence in moving forward in their training process. So that is really important. You need a training checklist. Okay, so the next, a training resource with learning tools. You don't have time to sit there and go over every single little thing. You don't. You just don't. That people need to learn and people need to know. And, there are training tools out there. We have some. There are other training tools or training videos, things like that. But you have, why reinvent the wheel? Why would you run to work when you have a car and you can drive perfectly? Like, why would you do that? It seems silly. So why would you sit there and go over every single new thing for a new hire when there are tools out there that allow for you to be able to do that, and for your new person to be able to learn these skills and then sit with a trainer and do the hands-on things later on? It wasn't advancing, I guess.
So I also think it's really important to set expectations and to set expectations for each member of our team. And it can be really easy when you hire somebody to say, we're going to have these quarterly meetings and, we're going to evaluate you and we're going to do this. And my staff's sitting back there going, she's never going to do it. Like, it's just not gonna happen. She only calls you back there when you've done something wrong. And that's not the way you want to set expectations, that the only time that I'm going to meet with you is when I have something bad to say. So it's really setting those expectations and meeting them and saying, I expect this of you. And here's a written guideline of what I expect. And if we meet those goals, and we're going to check in every quarter, and you can hold me accountable for that, here's why, we need to do this. And here's what's going to come of that, whether that's a monetary raise, a bonus, a change in title, whatever it might be, really setting that expectation that we are here together to grow, and that we can, we will meet, and it won't be, oh, she's in trouble. So and I think that, it comes from being approachable and having this approachable leadership. And whenever we hire somebody, I say, I truly have an open door policy. And I mean that. And I don't want you to only come find me when something's going wrong. You have my cell phone number. You can call me, text me, ask me to meet outside, go for a walk, whatever it is, because I want to know what's going on. And I feel like I have a pulse on it, but I'm also not sitting there all the time. And I need to know what's going on, because my promise to you is that this is going to be a nice work environment where everyone feels respected and heard. But if I don't know the small problems that are brewing before it gets bad, I need to get in front of this. So it is exhausting, and no one wants to hear it. And I have 2 young kids, so I don't want to hear any tattling, but sometimes you need to know so that you can get in front of these issues before they become big issues.
Absolutely.
So, I think it's also important to have time and to really set aside that time. We're all so busy, and it might not be me that sets up the time to train somebody. And while I would love to, and ideally I would love to be the person that trains everybody, it's just not feasible. Again, I'd have to block off exam time. And my business person hat says no, but, having a designated person, or it's in your admin day, it might be that you've set aside a specific admin day that you feel you want to work on your business and not in your business. And you've made that determination that I'm not going to try and squeeze these meetings in between patients. I'm going to take a half a day a week, and I'm going to make that part of my admin time, that I sit and I talk to my staff. And I either train them myself, or I talk to the trainer who's doing this. And I make time to go over, anything with new hires and ask them questions, chat with them, talk about difficult patients they might have encountered, quiz them on things. And, I think you'll have a much higher success rate when you're doing this, whether it's you or your office manager, than saying, we all promise this, and I'm guilty of it too. We promise all of these things that are going to happen, and then 2 years later, they're like, wait, wasn't I supposed to have a review? Or do we do that here? I don't even know. I have no idea. Like, it was promised to me, but not delivered. And I'm really looking for opportunities to advance, and maybe this isn't the place for me.
Right. Yeah. Well, and let me add this one thing too, from someone who's created an online learning, platform service. This training resource that you guys find, whatever it is, books, a learning platform, slideshows, there's all sorts of videos. You will still need an in-person trainer to show them the hands-on things. I mean, this is optical, right? I'll show my, members in my videos how to properly adjust a frame, or how to use a manual lensometer, or how to pair the nylon on a semi-rimless frame, right? But they're just watching me do it in a video. Granted, I like to say, I like to pat myself on the back and say I'm a pretty darn good teacher, but you still need to do it in person, right? So it's really important that you have these designated check-in times with their trainer, right? I understand that not all doctors have the opportunity to be able to, be there all the time. And I don't think you should as the doctor. I think you need to designate that. But you need to have, that time that is set aside and allow for that trainer. I should say doctors allow for that trainer to have set aside time to, hey, on, twice a week, we're going to have you sit back with the newbie and really go over these fine things is really, really important. And it's vital to their success. I mean, this is what will keep, not patients, this is what will keep your employees there in the office, which is a perfect segue into the culture to flourish.
Right. And really, we talked about having this culture where patients want to work there, and all of our reps are our patients, which is another great, amazing thing to feel, that the reps that come in that see tons and tons of accounts in our area, all of them choose us as their doctor. So we get this opportunity to have this culture that is really important and really set for making people feel good.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Okay. So then, this is that other poll. I'm telling you, this poll was like perfect timing for this course. There were 3 things on this poll and it was like, great. All the ODs have just answered all of our questions. But, also in this poll, they were able to basically categorize for us how do we keep people in our office, right? What is the most significant retention strategy, most effective retention strategy in our office? And they ordered it from, most effective to least effective. And, it starts out with, frequent praise, right? And love that we're giving our people. And, I understand we get so busy and we might say thanks in passing, but being able to have the opportunity to mindfully go out of your way to praise someone is highly important, right? And that was followed by pay, bonuses, and incentives, followed then again by a reliable schedule. And what I think is funny is events in or out of the office is the least effective. And it was almost like darn near unanimous in the article, but it was strongly the most least effective. And what I find funny about that is I myself am, when I'm in person, I'm fun and energetic, but I'm not really like, oh my gosh, you're so sweet, you're so whatever, blah, 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 blah. That's not my style. That's not my authentic self. My authentic self is, hi, let's hang out and we're going to go over here and hang out with this person. So I'm not always really great. I have to be very mindful about giving gratitude and appreciation. So what I would typically do is I'm like, hey, y'all, we're going to do every quarter, we're going to go out and do a big party. And everyone's going to think that's great. And even though I thought that was great, that doesn't speak volumes to the team. And obviously it doesn't speak volumes to the rest of the optometric world out there either, to their team, because that is the least effective. So we need to be mindful of this, that praise matters. There was another survey done, I believe in February of this year, of why workers left their jobs. This is not just an optical one. This one is just overall in the US. And they say low pay and no advancement opportunities. So if that's a thing, right, how do we make sure that we avoid having our team end up where they're like, oh yeah, I don't feel very appreciated, I'm out. Or, some of our doctors might go, well, I appreciate my team. Isn't that enough? Dr. Jim was just alluding to it earlier. Every time you pull them back, are you pulling them back to reprimand them? Are you pulling them back because, you've had the opportunity to, you're using an opportunity to tell them something great that they did? So we have, I strongly recommend for all of our members and all ODs, anybody running a practice, is that you guys have annual reviews and quarterly check-ins. So a lot of doctors are like, how big my staff is? I don't have time for that. That's not okay. There's no way I could do that. Well, what I recommend is for the, happiness of your office. Once a quarter, close down even like one half day, close down one morning and just knock out everyone's reviews. It's really, really effective because the way that we do the review process, and this is actually, it's small in here because it's available for your downloads, but the way that we encourage doing the review process is you interview everyone every quarter. And then whenever their annual lands, if their annual lands in that quarter, that's when you give them their annual review. But having a chance and an opportunity to really praise people about their strengths, and at the same time be able to talk to them about, areas that they can improve on, and setting proper expectations is really, really important. And also in this guide, you'll notice to the right-hand side, it has a self-assessment and an assessment by leadership as well. So you have maybe 3 points that you want them to focus on, and you come back next quarter and you're like, all right, Sally, did you get those points? Let's take a look. You rate yourself on how you did, and then I'm going to rate it. So they get to have, a real kind of authentic reflection on how they perceive that they are doing. And what's really great that actually we get a ton of feedback on this part is the very bottom of the form. Every time that you use it, it says, what can we do to help you improve? And it's, often we get feedback that this is often very helpful, because they're like, well, gosh, if there was, if I didn't have to work 60 hours in my 40-hour week, that would be great. Or, if we had a tool to be able to pull insurance, then that would be, so much more helpful for me, because then I could focus on these other things. Or if you get some real authentic feedback when you ask, tell me how I can help you. And the first time, I'll tell you right now, the first time that you implement this in your office, everyone's going to be a little skeptical, because they're going to be like, I don't trust it. But as you continue to implement this type of thing in your office, it starts to really build a culture, and people look forward to the quarterly meetings, because sometimes they're going to be like, oh yeah, Bobby up there is causing problems, sometimes you'll get that, but a lot of times they're thinking about it and they're pondering it. So, the second and third time that they're coming back, you're going to get all of this information and all of this good stuff to really help to build the culture of your office. And it makes you not a liar. Like Jen had said earlier, like, oh yeah, I had every intention of giving you a review, and here we are 2 years later, right? So it kind of, they might, in that meantime, they might look in the other direction and start looking for another job. So culture is important.
One other thing I love to share with my team is that whenever we are in the office, we are on stage. So if you know me, you know that I'm a huge Disney fan. So thank you, Kayla, for putting up my castle. But part of that culture is realizing that when we are in the office, that we all have lives outside of work, but the energy that we bring to the office, the happiness, has to be intentional. So we have to leave it all. I tell them, when I unlock the door in the morning, I leave that all behind. I leave, my kids arguing in the morning, all the things I have to do, this broke at my house. I leave it all outside that door. I walk in and I put a smile on, and that's how I go about my day. And it doesn't last all day. Many times throughout the day, I have to stop, pause, and take a breath and reset myself. But, it really has to be intentional. And I encourage them to do that, because that gets rid of so much of that bickering and the infighting and all of the things that go on with having multiple people work really closely together in a small area. And I tell them, again, I utilize the pause when I walk into an exam room. I take a breath, I put a smile on, I knock, and then I walk in and I take that pause. But we really have to be intentional about the culture that we're creating, and not fall into the trap of changing things to suit one person, or, having this reactive kind of feel of, oh my gosh, you want me to give you a review? Okay. You're always late, and you're not, you pick up the phone after 5 rings. Like, you got to get better at that and just fix it. And, we'll talk about it another time, but instead of being reactive, being really proactive and making it a very intentional feel of the office.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So we talked about keeping drama small. So I always like to say, deal with little drama instead of the drama bomb. And, I think if you are having those quarterly check-ins that are scheduled, people will use that opportunity to open up, and that they'll feel that you are listening, and that you are in tune with what's going on, and that you can catch those little things before it becomes big, and people will start to open up about ways that you can help them be more successful, and that everyone can feel a little bit better about coming in.
I love that. So basically, to put it all together, what we have reviewed so far is understanding the dynamics of your team, right? Figure out where their strong suits are and where they might need help, right? And you can pair people up, the leaders with the people who maybe aren't, as confident. They can learn from each other. And at your office meetings, you can coordinate that together. Create and promote a work life that people are excited to be a part of. Oh, is it supposed to?
Oh, it's
See, it still doesn't play. It still doesn't play. All right. Wrap up the rest of it.
So, when it comes to including new people in your team, really considering taking your team's opinion into account and really making them part of the interview process will help them feel that they have some say again into who's coming in there and just feeling important. Again, that's part of that growth. Everyone wants to have a seat at the table. So instead of just hiring people and saying, yep, your opinion matters and I want to hear what you have to say, and then you never ask, kind of being that leader that really shows them that you care about how they contribute to the office. Setting proper expectations, making sure you really do give them the tools to succeed, instead of just, learn from this person and maybe shadow this person for 5 minutes and you have all this time to do all this. I promise you'll learn. And then, wait, what do you mean? You've been here 5 minutes and you can't answer the phone? Go answer the phone. We're busy. And it's kind of this chaos. We all feel this chaos. So it makes the team's work life way less stressful. And really, Spexy is just amazing to set that up so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I tried to write a manual of teaching people and it failed miserably. It never gets updated. It looked good 10 years ago, but everything's outdated. The contact lenses are outdated that we use. So I had good intentions, but again, the follow through. So, and again, I really like going through the courses myself because I get to relearn and then think about the ways that I am more efficient and effective in the exam room. So I think also, telling my team, I'm not assigning you to do this, but I'm going through it with you. And this way, maybe we can do it together and talk about it and talk about how we can implement, different changes in our office without, again, being reactive, but being proactive about, some things that we can all do better. Everyone can do better. And I really like figuring out ways that I can be better at anything in the office. So really, making this effort to create a positive culture will trickle down from your team into your patient care. Everyone will see it. Patients will feel it. It will be easier to go to work. I mean, I know the days that I dread going are the days that we're having staff issues. You just, not today, I can't do it. We've got a rough day and, a busy day, and then, the staff implodes. So it will trickle down and it will make it's not perfect, but it will make going into the office and managing a team a lot easier and a little less stressful in these chaotic days. So,
yeah. All right.
That's it. So I wanted to thank you. This was awesome. I was so excited about this and sharing all these pearls. And I hope that this was helpful for the many, many, many attendees on here. So thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you.